What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Pegasus Lounge. If you're new here, my name is Mason T, and I am an international importer / product developer. But more importantly, I've been on all of the major e-commerce platforms for over 20 years. So recently, we just dropped our free course that I promised you guys for a long time, and I will leave the link to the description below. So that will give you all of the business fundamentals of exactly how to start from eBay and build it into an empire. So today, we are going to review a particular story that I came across that was very wholesome, that really applies all of our business fundamentals of how they made it from beginning to end. So let's dive in together.
I had people saying, you really want to sell meat snacks for a living? We were passionate about it though, and we had the conviction that this was going to work.
This is Pete Maldonado, co-founder of Chomps, a key player in the meat snacks category.
I've always had a love for meat sticks. I used to ride my bike up to the local 7-Eleven when I was a kid, buy a bunch of them. By the time I got home, I had finished all of them. But when I got older, I realized that those meat sticks weren't good for me. I shouldn't be eating those. So the idea just kind of quickly came to me is, why is nobody making a better for you version for this?
The global meat snacks market, that's jerky, sausages, and sticks, was valued at $17 billion in 2023 and is expected to reach $26 billion by 2030. Bothered by the state of the market in 2012, Pete and his friend Rashid used...
I don't like it when people throw out huge numbers of collective numbers of the market. This is just the narrator doing this. This is not these guys doing it. So I have no criticism of them whatsoever. But the whole thing about this particular market is a $26 billion market, et cetera, that doesn't mean that you could make it in this business without passion and drive. Okay. Just because a market has huge, market shares of how much money is in this particular is not a reason to do business. Do business because you're absolutely driven to in order to make this work, not because you're seeing big numbers. Most businesses fail if that is the reason that you started off.
Their own money to start a side hustle, determined to make a healthier for you alternative.
As you walk up and down these aisles in a normal grocery store and you're looking at these products, they're loaded with sugar, preservatives, a bunch of unnecessary ingredients. That really struck a nerve for both of us.
There are three numbers to look out for in this story. $6,500, the amount of money needed to launch the brand's first production run. $244 million, the company's retail sales for 2023. And over $350 million, the total number of sticks sold from 2012 to 2023.
We wanted to remove the sugar. We wanted to use grass-fed and grass-finished.
We made something that tasted so much better and was a better nutritional product for us.
This is Founder Effect.
So right in the beginning of this intro, they have already established their unique selling proposition. They noticed a gap in the market that nobody is doing a healthy Slim Jim, put it that way. So they decided to go ahead and tackle the market and do exactly that. And hopefully people will resonate with it. So when you listen to exactly what they're talking about, I want you to be able to spot the fact that, okay, that is the USP. That is what they're talking about, and think in those terms rather than just listen to the story in layman's.
A certified personal trainer at the age of 19, Pete was always looking for a solution to help his clients stick to their meal plans.
They were very busy professionals, and I would spend a lot of time putting together these elaborate meal plans and grocery lists, and they never stuck to them.
Pete originally started Frozen Fitness in 2006, a company specializing in prepared meals.
So I ran that company for about 3 years, had some unfortunate missteps, and eventually had to close the company down.
Just because somebody else is doing it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be able to make it, because you're not the first person to try to do a meal prep service, right? So his Frozen Fitness or whatever, it didn't end up working out. They don't get into exactly why. The reason I bring this up is because if you copy other people and you don't have your own unique spin on it in some way, it probably won't work out.
A few years later, at a chance meeting, Pete struck up a conversation with Rashid Ali about a new idea for a business in the health food sector.
I think we called or texted the next day and met up, and I said, hey, would you want to partner? He was excited about the idea.
At the time, Pete and Rashid's original concept for Chomps was a little different than it is today.
The idea was really to start shipping frozen meat all over the country. It's actually how the business originally started with the two of us, but we quickly pivoted.
That's when Pete had the idea around, well, I used to eat these gas station snack sticks all the time. Could we make a cleaner version? It could be shelf stable. It would be more portable and convenient. I thought it was a fantastic idea. At the time, CrossFit, paleo, keto were really starting to gain momentum, and this product leaned perfectly into those communities.
Okay, so what I want you guys to listen for is that they spotted exactly what their customer is going to be. When you get into business, the first rule of business that anybody will tell you is to always identify your customer. So normally, if you heard somebody say, hey, I think we should do beef jerky or like those Slim Jim sticks or whatever, you know, the kinds that I eat at the gas station. It doesn't sound like that great of an idea, but I'm really happy that he thought it was a great idea, because when you think about somebody presenting an idea in that kind of fashion, any one of us could have been on either side, where we either thought it was a great idea or we think that's a terrible idea because we don't know too much about it. But when he pitched this thing, I'm assuming that he probably pitched the idea that, like, look, I want to do, like, you know, our own version of Slim Jim. There's nobody doing a healthy version of it. And you know what? The health market is really, really picking up with keto and paleo being more and more popular. When you really think about back in the 80s and the 90s, every single time we went to a diner, most of us ordered a soda or a milkshake or a coffee or something like that. And now more and more people are just drinking straight up water. So I think the health market is also picking up. So they really had something going here. So kudos to them for that.
There really weren't a lot of great grass-fed beef meat snack products, especially ones that had no sugar added to it. And we had the conviction that this was going to work.
So they have their USP, and now they have their target audience. So they have their target market, right? So they're still missing a couple of pieces of the puzzle right now, which is the supply chain and any possible hurdles in between.
Pete and Rashid wanted their products to be different than other meat snacks at the time. One free of sugar and with grass-fed and finished beef. Their next challenge was figuring out how to concoct the correct formula.
The initial formula for Chomps was made in partnership with one of our co-manufacturers. It was a very tough product to make, so a lot of manufacturers didn't want to deal with it. They wanted to do the old way of approaching it, where they could make sure that the product would turn out exactly the same every time. Collectively, we came up with a winning recipe that is very similar to our original beef recipe we have today.
Next, the pair had to find a suitable location to source their beef from. The difficulty in that was finding somewhere they could source from reliably year-round.
As we started to think about other sources, we looked around the world and we landed on Australia, but more specifically Tasmania, which is off the southern tip of Australia. And we found that the geography is perfect for raising grass-fed cattle year-round. It creates a lot of complications in our supply chain if you just think about the distance that protein has to travel. Right.
Okay, so I just heard 4 hurdles that they had to, overcome. So the first one was to deal with a packer who's willing to make what they want to make. Number 2 is to come up with the right recipe for it. I think these hurdles are great hurdles to go over, because that way somebody can't just look at your product and then knock off on it and then just start copying what you're doing, because there's a lot of challenges to overcome. The third one was to source a meat supply, grass-fed meat supply that they are okay with, right? Based on their standards. And then the fourth one is the logistics of getting something all the way from Tasmania back into the US to sell in their local market. So when you think about these 4 hurdles, they are a really, really decent barrier entry to get into. But when you're doing a business and you're solving these problems, these barriers of entry becomes layers of protection for your business, so that other people who want to be your competitor, it's not so easy now, is it? You're going to fail if you can't overcome the solutions that they went through.
Right now, it's really the best source that we've been able to find globally.
After finding the correct formula and co-manufacturer, Chomps was officially born in 2012. For initial funding, Pete and Rashid together put forth $6,500 of their own money.
So low.
The initial $6,500 that we invested into the business went into samples. So we did our first very small production run. We built a website, and then we also did some Facebook ads. I had to teach myself how to create a website. I bought a $99 Photoshop Elements subscription and taught myself how to make packaging. It is not the packaging that you see today. It was terrible looking. It actually had like cowhide print on it. It was just Rashid and me, and we were both running it as a side hustle. This business was supposed to be and run as a D2C e-commerce like store, and we were gonna be able to do this on the side.
Right. So this is their starting point, right? D2C e-commerce. And this is what we teach here, to develop your own USP and then get it made so that you could sell it direct to consumer through platforms such as eBay and Amazon. When you really think of, the items that they have, couldn't they throw some on eBay to sell as well? Yes, absolutely they can. And this is what I advocate for most businesses to be like, because whatever business that you're doing, whatever product that you're doing, you could sell some on eBay while you're at it, or you could start off with eBay as your executing starting point as well. So the versatility of the business model is so much better when you are dealing with this, because you have exclusivity of your product, creative control over your product. Basically you're setting the trends for stuff, especially if you're noticing that there's a huge gap in the market of nobody else doing healthy Slim Jims.
Chomps frequently sold out of product in the first few years of business.
Wow.
At launch, the price was around $2 a stick. Today, it's around $2.49. In the early years, Chomps sold directly to consumers, but also to CrossFit gyms, independent specialty stores, chiropractors, and doctors' offices.
These guys really reached out to make sure that they have a decent sales channel so that they're constantly moving product. I would not have considered to put these in doctor's office as well as chiropractor offices. I do think that they should go to, local health food stores and, other organic places and specialty stores like that. But I would never have thought of, the doctor's offices and chiropractors.
A lot of it, we didn't even have product for it anymore because we sold through it so quickly. We kept the ads up and people were transacting, and then we would reach out to them and say, thank you so much for your purchase. We ran out of product. We would love to send it to you after if you'll wait for it, or we could just refund your money. 2013 was our first full year of business, and we did somewhere around like $40,000 or $50,000. Then in 2014, we did about $100,000. And then we kept doubling from there up until 2016, where we 10x'd the business. So we went from about $450,000 to $4.3 million.
Wow.
2016 marked a pivotal year for the business as Trader Joe's started selling their products.
It makes sense that their item goes to Trader Joe's. Once you land your item, like this particular item in this market, and then the whole keto paleo thing, and then you're in Trader Joe's first, it really helps solidify what your company stands for.
Product in their stores.
That was our very first retailer, and that was really just a game changer for the business. How many millions of customers were now seeing the product for the first time and trying the product.
The added visibility from Trader Joe's would present new challenges for Pete and Rashid.
When you grow that quickly, it blows up your existing infrastructure, blows up everything that you were doing historically, and you have to think about the business completely differently, and it forced us to do that. And that was another challenge to figure out, like, how am I present in these manufacturing runs, but also juggle my full-time job.
Look at that display unit, like all the way in the back left over there, right? This display unit is actually a lot of design that's put into, because this is probably exactly what they're going to negotiate with Trader Joe's for. Because look, you're not going to get anything too expensive made, especially selling a cheaper item like beef jerky. So this most likely is some kind of, foldable cardboard thing that they had to design, because when you think about how many stores across America that Trader Joe's has, how much are you going to spend into the infrastructure of the display stand? Also, your display stand needs approval from their executives, because they don't want you taking up way too much room on their showroom floor, right? So it's got to be able to sell your product. People's got to be able to see it, and it has to be really cheap to put together. So there's a lot of thought and ingenuity that goes into just the display stand alone of this business in order to make this whole business work. Because if people can't see your stuff, they're not going to buy your stuff. So a lot of hurdles that these guys overcome, but this is exactly what I'm talking about. These hurdles, the moment you overcome them, they become layers of protection for your business.
I went full-time in 2016, immediately after landing the Trader Joe's business. And then Rashid went full-time in 2018.
We opened a Chicago office, we started hiring people. That's when we realized that, Pete and I have to delegate. We have to think about culture. We have to think about how do we scale beyond ourselves to make sure that we continue to grow this business.
In addition to being a healthy alternative, ethical sourcing practices have been important to Chomps since inception.
We want to make sure that the things that we're doing in our sourcing practices are not only good for nutrition, it's good for the environment, and it's good for animal welfare. These are the three main pillars of sourcing that we think about every day. Those ideas were what we had when we started the business and hasn't changed since.
In 2021, after bootstrapping the company for a decade, Chomps secured its first funding round, an $80 million minority investment from a private equity firm named Stride.
This is what I talk about in my class, which is the wheel of business momentum. Once your item starts to gain traction, it's going to boost visibility. And once that boosts, you're going to get more sales, and more sales, you're going to get more loyal followers and building brand recognition. And when all of that happens, it's going to unlock other opportunities. And now they got an $80 million investment. Wow.
Consumer partners. In recent years, Chomps has experienced significant growth, resulting in the company bringing in nearly $250 million in retail sales in 2023. For Pete and Rashid, Chomps' success is also in part due to its commitment to inclusivity and its accessibility to consumers not already familiar with meat snacks.
What we realized in the last several years is our success is being driven through incrementality to the jerky set. The Chomps consumer isn't necessarily eating Chomps because it's a better jerky alternative. They're eating it because it's a high protein, low sugar, tasty, convenient snack.
Key life moments have also reinforced the core principles of what Pete and Rashid initially set out to accomplish with the Chomps brand.
Once Pete and I both had kids and started to grow our families, that side hustle really changed more into a mission.
It's like someone turned a light switch on for us. You start scrutinizing labels in a much different way than you ever have, even when you're eating food for yourself. That's how it happened for me, it's how it happened for him. When you're looking at these products that are made for kids, they're loaded with sugar, preservatives, with a bunch of unnecessary ingredients, but in the packaging, it looks like a healthy, organic type product with cute cartoon characters and obviously marketed towards kids.
From its start in 2012 to 2023, Chomps has sold more than 350 million sticks. In 2024 alone, they estimate that they are on track to sell 300 million more sticks.
When you find a product that's tasty, that's convenient, you really build an emotional connection. I think that's what Chomps has done. And Pete and I still run the business like it's a $100,000 business. Running a food business, a snack business is a challenge. I describe it as a house of cards. Like anything could happen at any point and you could plateau or you could start losing market shares.
It's funny, if you look at the revenue and the trajectory of the brand, when I say someone turned a light switch on, it's literally like a hockey stick trajectory. And it's literally just the two of us. We've got this burning desire now where we are going to make a huge difference.
All right, guys, that was a great story. Let's come back up to the top. So full disclosure, I have actually never even heard of this brand prior to making this video, but I did do a little bit of digging. So I want to throw up on the screen a couple of screenshots of them on Target and Amazon, as well as eBay and Walmart. So what I love about this video, that it is in full logical order. They started off with the USP, they defined their target market, and then they worked out all of the supply issues. So now they have a whole pipeline system of where they're going to get their product, have it developed, and shipped directly to the customer to turn over into profit. When you think of the time that they put into this from 2012 to 2023, they spent 11 years of their life doing this. And this is why I highly advocate that if you're going to do business, do something that's really going to be worthwhile. It's going to be scalable and sustainable so that you can safeguard for the future. Anyways, guys, that is the video. Let me know if you enjoyed it. And if you learned something, please consider subscribing. And as always, take care, and I'll see you guys in the next.